When you walk into Independence Village of Waterstone, one of the first things that catches your eye is the display of veterans along the walls. Veterans of all our recent major conflicts. Some really interesting and exciting stories. Stay with us on My Life to hear more. Welcome to My Life. We're here again at Independence Village, and today we're very happy to be with Florence Hill. Now, Florence was born in Clawson. She was a nurse at Grace Hospital in Detroit. She was in World War II in the Army, and she took care of German and Japanese prisoners while there as a nurse. In her lifetime, she's owned 3 airplanes. Only 3?
Yeah.
3? And she...
I was a pilot for them.
Rafted 315 miles through the Grand Canyon and skydived on her 91st birthday.
I went there on my 95th birthday with a daughter. She said she would jump with me, and it was wind that was coming and going, you know, and they wouldn't let us take off. With even the airplane, they said those gusts will collapse your parachute, so they wouldn't let us go. We sat there from 8 in the morning until 8 at night and never got up.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That was when you were 95.
95, yeah, last year. I'll be 96 in 31st Sunday.
Are you going to try again?
I would like to, maybe when I'm 97.
Well,
I like to do it on my birthday, and they have other plans for me on my birthday, so...
Well, if there's anybody out there who owns an airplane and a parachute, just remember Florence. Now, you retired as a nurse when?
Well, when I married a farmer and started farming.
Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit. You were born in Clawson.
Yeah. 1920.
Tell me about where you lived. Were you in the country? It must have been.
No, I lived in town. My dad was chief of police, and my mother had a 5 and 10 cent store. So we had, well, I like to get in the little problems, and I didn't dare with my dad, chief of police.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
One sister, 6 years younger, and she's had a bad, her right side is all gone now, you know.
Is she older or younger than you?
Younger, 6 years.
Okay. Did you know your grandparents?
Oh, sure. Certainly, I sat in my great-grandfather's lap when he was 95.
Did he live around Clawson as well?
No, he lived in Indiana.
Indiana?
Yeah.
Did you visit him very much?
About every year we went down for a reunion, and we made the rounds of the farmers that were relatives of my father's.
Was he a farmer as well?
Dad? No, he was chief of police for 19 years.
I mean your great-grandfather.
A great-grandfather was in the Civil War, and yeah, he was a farmer for a while.
Was your grandfather a farmer as well?
My grandfather was, yeah.
Did you ever try and trace back your family to see how
yeah,
far?
I did that for 30 years.
How far back can you go?
Well, I have 5 fifth great-grandfathers in the Revolutionary War. I went back to them.
So,
I'm in DAR.
Are you?
Daughters of American Revolution, yeah.
So your family's been in this country for a very long time.
1752, my father's, way back in my father's family.
Wow. Let's talk about growing up in Clawson. You had to toe the line, right?
You bet. Well, there's only 4,000 people, and we knew them all, you know, with Mother being in business and Dad chief of police. And he was also chief of the fire department for a long time. I don't know how long. He finally quit that because he had too much chief of police work by that time.
And what did your mother do?
She, various businesses, but she started a 5 and 10 cent store. Then she had a butcher shop, and then she had a pop and mom, like seven, you know, she had everything, and we had a gas station, and we had she one time had out at a lake, she had a gas station and grocery store and gas station, grocery store, everything.
She was really entrepreneurial, wasn't she?
Well, my grandfather would take, give monies for them, and if they couldn't pay it, Mother took over the business, whatever it was. The last thing she did was a factory. And she got that going good, and then we sold it. No, she had a Mother and Dad, after he retired, we had a short order restaurant, because during the war that factory she sold got bigger, and they came and ate at our restaurant. And Dad was a tool and die maker at Ford's before he got to be chief of police and all that.
Okay. Tell me about the school that you went to, the first school that you went to.
The first school I went to, believe it or not, was Clawson High School. We had kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, right on through. I started in kindergarten, and I went to various schools as we moved in different parts of the city. It wasn't a city, it was a village. And, excuse me, and I graduated from there.
Right. Were the schools, the grade schools, really small?
No, they were pretty good size. Well, some of them were small, but most of them were second, third, fourth, and then we went back to the high school for fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth, and then right on through. The town was getting bigger all the time, you know.
Yeah.
When I first was there, just west of our four corners were farms. And my dad came on a motorcycle and picked me up one day, and he said, there's a man flying a First World War Jenny, and I want you to go. He's going to take us up. So I sat on his lap, 5 years old, while I sat on the gas tank of the motorcycle on the way out, and then sat and my dad said, now don't touch anything. So I put my hands in back like we were told to, and held them, and I looked over the whole thing, and he said, what do you think? I said, Dad, I think when I grow up, I'm going to buy me one of them things and fly me one of them things. And he laughed, because women didn't fly in 1925, you know. And so when I got my license and bought an airplane, I called Dad and said, I think I'm going to fly a thing, and I've got my license, come on up to the farm. And I had a runway on the farm, half-mile long. And we took off, and I took him way up high so that he could see the lakes and, you know, Huron and Michigan and the whole thing. We just went and made a round, and he thought that was great.
Sounds exciting. I want to talk more about that. We've got to take a break right now. We'll be right back with Florence. Don't go away.
Hello, I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny. Together we want to invite you to our weekly show, Minutes by Minute.
Minutes by Minute is a show where we talk about what's going on with your local Oxford-Addison commissions and councils and other local political groups, passing out legislation and ordinances that affect you. We believe that there is humor in politics and government, and you just have to look for it.
And usually we find it. For example, did you know that a local village has an ordinance that says if you have an acre of land, you're allowed up to 25 chickens, but no rooster?
That could be bad news for the chickens and bad news for the rooster.
Check out our weekly Minutes by Minutes, Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. and 10:30 p.m.
There is a warning, minutes by minute could be contagious.
There's a lot of history to Oxford. Hidden around every corner, deep in every crack, and sometimes right in front of you, waiting to be discovered. If you just dig a little, you'll find the great history of our beautiful town. Welcome to Historic Oxford.
You were talking about your father. Was he kind of the adventurous type of guy? I mean, he
He
was a
wanted
policeman.
to be, but he didn't do it. He wanted to go to Alaska. So one of the first things I did was go to Alaska in his place.
That was later on.
And I've been there more than once, but that was the first time.
Okay, let's go back to your grade school days.
Yeah.
What was your favorite thing to do when you were in grade school?
Grade school? Well, be in the playgrounds probably, playing baseball or one of the things they were doing.
You play a lot of sports?
Not a whole lot, because I was in college until I was 37 and a half, I think. So then I wanted to get to be a CRNA, and I had 3 kids at home.
Ooh.
And you had to go live up there for a year, so I had to get a housekeeper,
Yeah.
and I had every other weekend off because I was on call a lot for emergencies. So I'd go home for 2 days and then go back. You know, years ago, in 1922, it was a 3-month course. Then it got to be a 6-month course. Then it got to be a year course. And then a year and a half. Now it's a 2-year with maybe a year of apprenticeship. But they're talking about making a PhD now. We got out with a master's, but
Yeah, and you're talking about being a certified registered nurse anesthetist, which is a big deal.
CRNA.
Yes.
That stands for crappy, rotten nurse anesthetist.
No, it doesn't either.
Oh, certified registered nurse anesthetist.
Yeah, but we're skipping ahead. I want to go back and talk more about your school days. What were some of the favorite things that you did with your parents when you were in grade school?
Grade school, singing the choir and the glee club. And then when I got in high school, I played French horn in the band. And then I went to National Music Camp when I was about 15 at Interlaken. Played French horn in the symphony up there.
Where'd you go to high school?
Clawson High School.
Okay.
From kindergarten till I graduated.
Was your class very big?
67.
When you were in high school, did you have any part-time jobs or anything like that?
My mother always had a business. We
That's
always
right.
worked on them.
So you were working in a store or a gas
Stores,
station?
different stores, gas station, whatever. Yeah.
What did you think about that with your mother? That was pretty interesting, that every
My
once in
mother
a while
was
she had
a
a
school
different
teacher,
job.
but when you got married in those days, you had to quit teaching. So my grandmother, her mother, and all but 2 of her sisters were all school teachers. And when the first day I went to high school, my mother had gone with 3 other ladies, gone to California for a month. Dad got up and said, "Where's your mother?" I said, "I think she's on the way to California." And he said, "Oh, she did mention that last night." And he went and he said, "Her clothes are gone." Yeah, she went. So I went to school and I thought, I'll take the easiest things I can get. So I talked to one of the girls, Helen Howe, what a name, huh? And she said, oh, take the business course, that's the snap. So I took the business course, and I got all through that. Decided, I don't know what I want to do. So I went the 5th year to high school and I had 23 credits when I got done, and I'd finished most of the college courses and all of the business courses. So I could, in those days, my mother thought she had a job for me between the businesses, and it was in Detroit, and they wanted to pay me $15 a day for filing, just filing. And I said, no, I won't do it, because I had to take a bus down there and buy my lunch. I'd had about $4 left, I figured, so I wouldn't do it. And she said, well, what are you gonna do? And I looked in the mirror, I was doing up my hair, and I could see I got her go. She was easygoing, had to be, married to my dad. And she said, well, I said, anything but a damn nurse. And she said, oh, well, you're not capable of that. So I went into nurses training. And
Well, your mother was in kind of a unique position with your grandfather. I mean, he would help people fund their businesses, and then when
Oh,
they
yeah.
failed, he called your mother to
Yeah.
take care of things and straighten
that's
things
what
out.
she did. She had a,
She must have been a pretty smart lady.
what was the first thing? I think that grocery store, gas station combined.
Did she ever miss teaching?
Well, she was head of the National Women's Club, so she was busy. My grandmother was president of that, and then my mother was after that, and then my great aunt. So this little town, and then they were all in, my dad was a Mason and she was an Eastern Star. They were in everything, so.
Now, your mother and grandmother were pretty strong women
Oh,
at
you
a
bet.
time when some people frowned on that.
Yeah, she had 5 children, and 4 of them, no, Bess, 3 of them were teachers. 4 of them were teachers. She had 6 children. Even the boy became a teacher. She had 1 boy. But he didn't do it for long.
So your mother and grandmother were educated women.
And her mother before her.
Did your dad or your grandfather ever
The other
roll
half
their
of the
eyes and
family?
shake their head at all this stuff?
I don't know. They had to put up with it, I suppose.
Well, your grandfather was probably grateful because your mother helped him out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, who you going to turn the business over to, you know?
Yeah.
He was partner in a lumber yard one time, and I said, well, Grandpa, you don't still do that. Well, he said, I put the money in, I had a partnership, and he had the knowledge of the business and I had the money. And I said, well, how'd that turn out? He said, well, he had the money and I had knowledge. So after that, he always had Mother do it. She had oh dear, where you could buy screwdrivers and all that stuff.
A tool store of some kind?
You call it something else. I can't think of what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, she ran that for a while.
Well, let's think about that. We got to take a break right now, but we'll be right back. Don't go away.
Okay.
You're with Florence Hill.
Welcome to American Legion in Oxford for the best fish on Fridays. That's right, from noon to 8:30. You can get the best walleye in Michigan. You can get walleye, baked cod, chicken strips, baked potatoes, and more. On the hall side of the Legion, oh, hello there, friends. You can have 12 friends on a table, any one of the best military museums in Michigan. And the dining side, oh, hello again. More comfortable with many 4-seat tables and a couple of 5-seaters. Now on Friday, we usually have about 400 to 500 best friends for our fish. Carry out? You bet. We have 50 to 60 carryouts at the post. We have some young fins with the birthdays and some of our best seniors at the post. Oh yeah, waitresses, they go like a track waitress to get your food. If you have never enjoyed our secret's famous walleye at the Legion, come on in every Friday from noon to 8:30 at the American Legion Post 108 on 130 East Rainer Road, Oxford.
Here on My Life with Florence Hill. Florence, let's go back to your high school days when you were thinking about what you wanted to do when you got out. Now, what year did you graduate from high school?
38.
Okay, so the war was just getting started right around
When
there.
I was nurses training, it was started.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what was going through your mind in high school about what you wanted to do when you got out?
Well, mostly get out of high school.
But what did you want to do next? Certainly you were thinking of something.
Well, I liked playing the French horn, and I sat in with Detroit Symphony on their practice sections, and that was interesting. But I never played there. Women, only one woman played in those days. She played harp, and maybe 4 played violin, and nothing else.
Wow.
In Detroit Symphony.
Do you remember who was directing the symphony at that time? I'm just curious.
Oh, I'm trying to think.
That's all right, doesn't matter.
My grandmother was, her cousin was married to the guy, but I can't think of his name.
That's okay, no problem. So you practiced with them and you played French horn along with
Yeah,
them.
well, I was going with a family that he played first violin, and he wanted me to go. On Saturday, they had children's hour, and his wife didn't want to go because she had it up to her ears, you know, in symphony. So he asked me to go, so I'd take his 2 little boys, and we'd go to Saturday Symphony. And then I got symphony free.
What made you choose nursing? How did you choose that?
I guess I didn't choose it. I had a gal that I graduated with, and she didn't drive, and I drove. Could always take a car. I started driving with a license at 14, and so she said, "Would you drive me down to Detroit? I've got an appointment to go and be interviewed, and I'm going to hope to go to be a nurse." I said, "Yeah, I'll take you." So I drove down there, sat with her in the room where they were interrogating people, and it was her turn, and she was really anxious to be a nurse, I thought. And this woman said, "Now it's your turn." I said, "No, I don't want to be a nurse." Well, she said, "You will get a complete physical free." She said, "That's worth $25 in those days." That was a lot of money. So I said, "Well, okay, I'll sign up for that." So I went down a different time she did. I went to pick her up, to take her with me. And her mother came out the car, and she said she can't go. And I said, "Well, why?" She said she ran away and got married. So she never got to be a nurse, and I did.
So this was at Grace Hospital where you were?
Yeah.
And they had a school of nursing there, didn't
Yeah,
they?
that's where I went.
So that's how you started your nurse's
By
training.
chance.
By chance.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So what were you thinking as you started this training by
Well,
chance?
I thought my dad won't want to spend the money on a college education. And he said, all you'll do is get married and not do it. So, not finish. So I said, well, okay.
So he
I knew
encouraged
that
you to
was
finish.
out. So I thought, we had to have $50 to pay for uniforms, pink uniforms, and some books.
And that was big money back then.
Ooh, yeah. So I had told my dad, and he said, $50? And I said, well, he made $167 a month in those days. And at that time, Mother didn't have a business. She'd sold them all. And so I thought, well, $50. And then after that, we didn't have to pay anything. That was just get in. And I thought, well, so my grandpa gave $30, my dad gave $20, and I started. And then after that, we worked 8-10 hours a day and classes. And so we got our room and board free, and we had bought most of our books, so we didn't have to pay anything after that.
Now, Grace Hospital was in Detroit, but whereabouts in Detroit?
Between John R. and Brush.
So it was right downtown.
Well, it was right in the bad part of town.
Yeah, even then.
Oh, yes.
Did this nursing thing grow on you as things went on?
Well, I couldn't go to college, and I couldn't get a decent job. 39, you couldn't get a job. The only reason Mother had a job for me is because my cousin was vice president of white collar and lead. It was that's when they put lead in paint. So he got that job, and I said, I'm not going in with him, you know. I don't want that. If I get a job, I'll get it on my own. Well, I had all the work I could do at hospital.
How long did your nurse's training go for?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah. We didn't get a bachelor or anything in those days. We had, then we went, got a state 2 days of 8 hours, almost 8 hours a day, taking classes or it wasn't classes, it was to get your state RN, you know. So a lot of them didn't pass, but we had anybody for a roommate in that. They just assigned them, and I happened to get a good one. She said, now, are you going to study half the night like some of them? I said, I'm going to Fantasia. That was the first thing they had for...
Was that a movie or something?
It was a movie,
Oh,
yeah, the first one.
That was a Disney movie, actually.
Disney, yeah, Disney. And so we went to Fantasia. We came back, some of the girls had their doors open. They said, you're not studying? I said, we went to Fantasia. And they said, you'll fail, you'll fail. I said, if I haven't learned it in 3 years, then I'll fail. Well, the gal that got after us so bad failed. She was reading, studying what the doctors had to get a license. That was stupid. So she moved to California, and she had to come back to Michigan, and she failed a second time. And she didn't hear her until she got back to California, and she shot herself.
Oh my God.
That was the end. Her mother was head in a home for the people that were in college, and her father was a doctor,
Yeah.
and her sister was head of the public health in Detroit. So she just figured that you know, she didn't
Yeah.
think she...
We need to take a little break, but we're going to come right back. Actually, what we're going to do, this is the end of the first episode here with Florence. She's got quite a story to tell, so we're going to do a second half. So please come back with us, folks. Florence Hill. It's good to have you with us, Florence. Thanks. See you next time.